So one of the first things I do is I put 2 marks an inch in from the edge on the top of my 2 boards, and that will give me a reference to draw my lines across so that they are the tenon spacing is cut in the same place. I'm just going to take a minute and extend those lines around to both sides of the piece, and then we'll use the thickness of the board here in just a second to determine how deep the cut will be in the piece itself. And you'll no doubt at this point come to the conclusion that, hey, this is like a straight dovetail joint. Well, yeah, it pretty much is. That's why I call it a Fargofied finger joint, because it's not traditional finger joints. They're usually a lot thinner, I think. I could be wrong, but to me this is a rough method. It's not hugely precision if you don't pay attention, but it does eliminate some of the crazy angles that some of the dovetail joinery can lead you to. Ain't that pretty? He can draw lines. So you can clamp your piece in a fixture, even something as simple as a hacksaw, believe it or not. Yeah, come here with the X's there so I know what I'm cutting. What I always want to do, and I start with the little hacksaw just to show you that, I mean, really anything can cut this. You don't have to have fancy machinery or fancy tools to make this happen. You do want to cut inside and outside the lines so that it doesn't intentionally fit right the first time. Sounds a little crazy, but we're going to use a file to clean up all the saw marks and stuff here in a second, so that as we clean the joint, we actually bring the pieces to fit together a lot tighter. It's something I do. It works for me. You can do differently if you wish, but you know, that's why it's got Fargofied on the title. And so, because I'm horrible with a handsaw, I traditionally jump over to the bandsaw. It makes a lot faster work of it all. And it's just, I'm a lot more comfortable on the bandsaw, believe it or not. So, here we go. There's my pieces not quite fitting right to begin with. Mongo said he do wrong. So now we'll take it back over to the little homemade shop vise, clamp it back up pretty good, and start taking a file to it. And as you go, you want to try test fits because you don't want to go too far. I'll show you why here in just a second, because I've got one that is wrong. And you want to take from the tenon and, I guess, would that be the mortise, the male and female parts here, you want to take equally from each of them. You don't want to end up just filing on one side of one piece and then have the whole piece not aligned properly. That was the whole reason our marks were laid out like they were in the beginning. And eventually, after all kinds of filing and sanding fun, what you get is a joint that fits fairly decently. And you can keep going with this. Obviously, I've got a little work to do on it, but you get the idea here. And it's a fairly good joint as long as you do it right. Now, if you don't do it right, you get what you've got here, where the joint looks pretty, but isn't quite right. There's probably not quite enough glue in the world to fill that joint to make it look good, but, you know, it happens. And you can also take a board that has some interesting characteristics. This one here has got some different finish on one side to make it look nice, little transition there between the joints themselves. So you can get all kinds of cool little effects that way. And so take a little time, take a little creativity, and practice, 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 and there you go.